Been waiting for this matchup. It's the Red Sox versus the Astros in the ALCS. And we have Gabrielle Starr returning to talk about this. And I believe we stole Marwin Gonzalez from y'all, or I guess we found him. But will he be on the roster? I don't think so, but we'll have to talk about the rosters and what your predictions are for the series, because there will be blood, because us cheaters, we have to stick together. And we'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. Find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
All right. I know you're no longer with the network, but you're always with us as part of our team. So, Gabrielle Starr, where can you find you on Twitter, and what are you doing right now?
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me. It's so nice to be with the fam. Miss you guys a lot. And I really mean that. I say it all the time at home, too, not just on air. You guys can find me on Twitter at GFSTARR1, and I am a full-time editor for Fansided, covering the Phillies and the Red Sox, and I'm the founder of Girl at the Game.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether that be on YouTube, where our subscribers keep on going up. Make sure you give us a like with this video and any other videos you watch, and keep on listening to audio version, whether that be on Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you listen to Locked On Astros podcast every day. Make it your first listen. So we got a lot to talk about. This is a team that the Astros are very familiar with. I know we faced them in ALCS before. We faced them a lot this year. The Astros took advantage. I believe their record was 5-2 during the regular season. I think that I'm happy that the Astros are facing them instead of the Rays. How do these two teams match up, Gabrielle?
It's really interesting because, of course, for starters, everyone's going to make jokes like, oh, it's the Astros and the Red Sox, the two most hated teams, which, by the way, like, when did the Yankees stop being the most hated team? But whatever, that's a different story. This is kind of the matchup everybody wants for obvious reasons, except for I feel like the two teams in the matchup, because the Red Sox, I don't think, want to face the Astros. I don't think that the Astros want to face the Red Sox based on how the 2018 ALCS went for them. The Red Sox are blazing hot right now. They're also feisty. That's the thing, because they'll get down, but they don't stay down. I think it was Friday's game 2 of the ALDS, Chris Sale, who I'm sure you guys really enjoyed facing in the ALDS in 2017, Chris Sale gave up a first-inning grand slam, and he did not return to face the Rays in the second inning. He literally made a one-inning start. He got knocked around by the Nationals on the final day of the season. He's been struggling, but they came back and won by scoring 14 runs on 20 hits, which is a postseason away game record for the franchise. This is a team that fights back. I was at the extra inning game on Sunday afternoon. That was absolutely insane. And then they almost had to go to extras again when literally the exact same thing happened in the same inning the following night, giving up 2 runs to tie the game and then having to come back to win it. But the word that comes to mind for me most of all with this team is like fight. They've been defying the odds all season long. They've been defying the odds in the postseason. I don't know if I think that they can win it, but I think they're going to win at least one game. And honestly, considering they were projected to be a 4th place team with 80 wins, like the fact that they're even in the ALCS is pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think what's amazing is you got Kike Hernandez, who I think is the hottest postseason player on the planet right now. He has really embraced the Boston, just the whole crowd. He said after the game the other day when he got that walk-off hit to score that, score the runner from third. He said, Boston, I had confidence, but when I heard y'all chanting my name, my confidence went up 4 levels. And Kike Hernandez has really endeared himself to Boston very quickly. And that's something that it seems like Boston really thrives off of. You guys have been known for the scrappy players, not just Poppy, but, the Kevin Millars and just the guys that aren't necessarily massive stars, but they show up in big games for you guys. And Boston really takes that on. Like, y'all are thought as the blue collar, hard nosed, rough run, y'all have got the beards, the Yankees are clean shaven, all that stuff. And so, I was saying, like many other Astros fans, I don't want the Rays, I'll take the Red Sox. When a team's hot, you don't want them when they're hot right off the iron. And so I think the series, I don't think it goes past 6 games. I think if it goes to a 7th game, it's Astros definitely, without a doubt, win it, because I don't see them losing at Minute Maid. But I see the Boston Red Sox putting up some fight, and I think these are going to be good games. Chris Sale, though, we basically own that guy. I don't see him really being a factor. But we can get into all those different things. I just think this will be a series where both teams are going to duke it out. They're not going to be shutouts. There's going to be a lot of hitting, a lot of defense, and a lot of just jawing back and forth.
Yeah, well, so, the interesting thing with Sale is that when he had that first game in the ALDS 2017, he gets knocked around. He gives up, I think, 7 earned runs over 5 innings. I'll be honest, I didn't have to work that day, and I was living in LA. So the game for me started at something like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was drunk by the 3rd inning. It was so stressful. That was the Jose Altuve 3-homer game, I think. At least 2 of those home runs were hit off of Sale. But the interesting thing is, so I was talking about this with my fellow Boston Fansided guys today, and aside from Altuve and a couple other guys, most of the guys who apparently hit Sale really hard in 2017 and 2018 are actually no longer on the Astros, which actually might level the playing field. But more interestingly, Sale might not actually start any of these games. Cora has alluded to saying that he's not sure how Sale is going to be used. He will pitch, but he's not sure. I mean, obviously it depends on how long the series goes. If the series is going towards 5, 6, 7 games, you're going to probably have to start Sale just based on, stamina and pitching energy. Like, Eovaldi can't pitch every single day, even though he definitely would want to. But if it's, tight and the Red Sox are up, 2-1 or whatever in games, you might stay away from Sale and use him in a relief role. And the interesting thing about him is he's given up at least 2 earned runs in every postseason start he's ever made. But I think almost every single one, if not all of his relief role appearances, have been scoreless. I don't know what that means for this series, but I know that he gave up 2 earned runs to the Astros in the ALCS in 2018. He gave up 7 to them in 2017 in the ALDS. But when he's been a reliever in the postseason, he's been really good. So, we'll have to wait and see. But there's an interesting kind of angle there. He's kind of developing a David Price-esque narrative about the postseason, where he now is known as the guy on the team that struggles. And he hasn't had, ironically, I think that game actually was against the Astros that Price finally turned it around. So, Sale, I think he's got 8 or 9 postseason appearances under his belt now, including a couple starts. And most of it's not very good. But Nathan Eovaldi has been amazing in the postseason. He'll probably start game 1. Really not a lot of people you could hope for more than him to be game 1 starter in a high stakes postseason series.
Yeah, I love Cora's quote on Chris Sale. When he was asked would he start or relieve in the series, his quote was, "He'll pitch." So
right. Very, very specific, very, very informative, very Belichick of him to just be like, he'll pitch. That's his job. So we know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do want to talk about Nathan Eovaldi. We saw, I don't know if you're aware of what happened in the White Sox series, but we had a White Sox reliever basically call out the Astros saying that, oh, you scored all these runs at Minute Park, but you come to guaranteed rate field and all of a sudden you strike out 16 times. There must be something in, what was the word? Sketchy going on here. And so the Astros took that seriously, and there's a whole text chain we can get to where it was a translated interview with a Puerto Rican reporter, but he basically went through and they had this whole group chat, and basically they said, let's get him, boys. And so they got him the next game 10-1. So Nathan Eovaldi basically came out and said, I don't necessarily hate any team, but they're not high up on my list. And he also had to say, yeah, they have a tendency of rubbing guys the wrong way. I don't necessarily, and then that's where he went on to say that other part. So Astros fans, you can see that in chat. They're already going after Eovaldi. I know he's probably
I got called a liar for something, God knows what. But I'm also lovely. Same guy said I was lovely, but also a liar. So, whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah. So, is that just his personality? Is that just, is he just the guy who's going to say whatever's on his mind, or Eovaldi?
I mean, first of all, Eovaldi's a Texas kid. This is my favorite thing. Every single time Eovaldi pitches ever, they have to bring up that he's from the same town as Nolan Ryan.
He is. And
every single time.
He went to Alvin. Yeah. He went to Alvin Community College. Yeah. He went to, and I was actually sitting in a parking lot tonight doing a podcast with another Boston podcast. And I said, I'm 5 minutes from the stadium Eovaldi pitched in when he was in junior college at Alvin Community College, because everybody talks about it. I work with people who are related to him. He is a cousin of one of my friends I work with. And so, I think he's almost got to do that because he is a hometown guy, right? And he's not playing for the hometown team. He can't be like, oh, I cheered for the Astros when I was a kid. He can't say that. He's in Boston. I mean, maybe
you could say that if you're in like Kansas City or, or like Cincinnati or something, but like Boston fans, you can't. I mean,
right.
Kemba Walker got so much crap, not to make it an NBA thing but for a second, like he's from New York, like from actual, like, I think he's from the Bronx, and he would wear a Yankees cap sometimes during like media availability after Celtics games last year. And people would be like, how dare he wear it? Like, he's from New York. He can wear whatever the hell he wants. Like, really, I don't care. As long as you're not actively cheering for a team that you're facing while you're facing them. Like, I don't want to see a New York guy like Adam Ottavino. Don't go and hug Aaron Judge while you're in uniform during a game. But like, I know you love the Yankees and whatever. Like, I know you loved being on the Yankees. That's fine. But like during the games, you gotta, talk your ish because that's what you do. I really don't think that he meant it. Someone was commenting like, poke the bear, whatever. I don't really think he meant it as like a poke the bear thing. And I think a lot of guys would have given more of a soundbite. I think what he probably meant by it is that there are players on the Astros, and you guys know this, like being honest, who have made comments that have rubbed people the wrong way.
Oh, Correa's, Bregman. I mean, those two guys right there are lightning rods.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to be like they're like that's a choice. They make a choice to be a lightning rod. The same way, when Manny Machado hurt Dustin Pedroia in 2016, Dustin Pedroia could have come out and been like, this dude ended my career. He didn't do that. All he said was, it didn't help. I'll tell you that much, which is a really classy way of being like, this dude ended my career. But Dustin Pedroia is not the kind of guy who's going to say that. He's just not. And I don't think Eovaldi's that kind of guy either. I think he's going to call it like he sees it, which is like, hey, a lot of these guys want to talk. They're totally allowed to. Obviously, we live in America, freedom of speech. But you have to know if you're going to say stuff like that, it's going to piss off other teams because these guys did not get punished. And, Correa going out being like, what? Like, what do you mean, what?
Well, yeah. Yeah. So,
like, why are you surprised that people don't like you? You're making yourself unlikable.
Speaking of not getting punished, if you don't get the right parts for your automobile, you're going to get punished when you can't get to work. So, Brett, talk to us about RockAuto.com.
So Rock Auto, I mean, if you have an old jalopy, let's say like the New York Yankees, and you need a lot of parts, like you go out and buy a Maserati and it doesn't get you to the World Series, like Garrett Cole, go to rockauto.com. You can find all the parts you need for every make and model that you need. You can spend 30, 50, sometimes 100% less. You don't have to go out and spend 324 million and waste that on no championships, but you can go to rockauto.com and you can get the same parts for cheaper. They don't overcharge you as a professional, as being a non-professional mechanic. They charge everybody the same. Why? Because they love you. Why do they love you? Because they work as a family. They're a family-owned business for 20 years. Rock Auto is amazing. I've searched their website. I've ordered parts from there. It's easy. They deliver it to your house. It's amazing. They even help you with customer service. They do a great job. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in there. How did you hear about us box? So that they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, definitely better than the Yankees. All the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com.
Hey, can you imagine all the Rays fans that bet on them to go to ALCS and all the Yankees fans who bet on them to go on? I wonder what BetOnline thought about all them. So, Brett, tell us a little bit about BetOnline.
So we're back and better than ever, and all eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season, because we know the Patriots and the Texans are going to be vying for a Super Bowl spot. Well, maybe not, but as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all pro and football action this season. With new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, who watches that, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
And guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether that be YouTube. Keep on subscribing on YouTube and keep on listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you listen to your podcast. Keep on making it your first listen every day. So let's go and get back to the series. Let's get away from the whole trash can thing, because that's getting a little old, and the I watch thing. Let's get away from that, even though we didn't really talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about the series. I think that this is going to be an interesting matchup. I'm glad that the Astros have home field advantage. I know it's kind of weird, the home field. You have the 2 games at home, then you play 3 games on the road, and then you come back and play 2 games at home. But you do have that last game at home. What do you think, Gabrielle, what do you think about the Astros rotation if Lance McCullers is hurt?
I mean, I'm never somebody who roots for injury. I think it's so classless, which is why all of the people who were kind of like, oh, this is so helpful, it's like, really benefits the Red Sox. Like that gives me kind of a bad taste in my mouth. I understand logically saying, yes, it would be easier for the Red Sox if Lance McCullers does not pitch. Factually speaking, it is something that needs to be covered. But seeing people be like jubilant about it, I find that so disgusting. Obviously it hurts if he's not in there, but
you want to beat the best is what you're saying.
Yes, I would rather have a fair fight. I don't want, and I say this knowing full well that the Red Sox pitching has struggled, and a lot of their Rays games were really a kind of, I don't know, like makeshift job. Erod got knocked out after like 2 innings. Then the next night, Sale gets knocked out after 1 inning. You have Tanner Houck coming in and pitching 5 innings. You're using Nick Pivetta in relief, so then he can't pitch in game 4 because he pitched for like 4 or 5 innings the night before. You got, it's it's kind of a makeshift job. Look, Greinke terrifies me. He's so good. Even when the numbers in the regular season aren't like his best numbers, he still is so dominant. I feel like, watching him in the postseason and watching my team fall apart against him throughout, I don't want that. Urquidy is great. Look, Odorizzi, who I honestly forgot you guys even have, which is just unfair. Like, imagine, I have to say, as somebody who has been worried about her own team's pitching for like 3 years now, having a team be like, ooh, we actually have too much pitching. We don't know what to do with it. Or like, oh, they have so much pitching. I forgot they even had this pitcher. Like, that must be so nice, honestly. Or like the Dodgers being like, yeah, well, we actually don't need David Price to start because we have plenty of starting pitchers. I have such jealousy of teams like that because my team does not have that situation. Our team actually moved a bunch of starters into bullpen roles because they were so bad at starting games. So the pitching is not 100% where it's at. It's the hitting. I mean, you guys know we have JD Martinez and Kike. They're two former Astros. You joked about Marwin Gonzalez at the beginning. The funniest thing is he actually was better for the Red Sox than he was for the Astros. I mean, obviously it's a much larger sample size, but he hit better over a larger sample size in Boston this season. Yeah, he hit 200, but it was better than the 170 something he hit for the Astros. So I like him. It was cool to watch him play like 7 different positions the first 2 weeks of the season. But we're not missing Marwin Gonzalez. I mean, we've been quite good. The one thing I will say is Bobby Dahlbeck has not had a hit the entire postseason so far. To the point where he played both games full innings for the wild card in the first game of the division series. And he was so horrible that he since then has only come in to play like 1 or 2 innings at the end of a game and pinch hit.
Brett,
so the offensive streak from the end of the summer is not something that you should be worried about.
Well, Gabrielle, I have some good news to tell you. I'm not sure if Zach Greinke is going to be actually starting because he was actually moved to the bullpen because he had a little injury at the end of the season. So he's not built up. So he may he may start, but if he starts, he'll only throw maybe 2 innings max.
So who is your game 1 starter?
Framber Valdez.
Yeah.
I would think. So I have an article here that I found from Javier Gonzalez talking about an update after James Click's interview on Sports Talk 790. The very last paragraph says this: "It is not clear what the next step to take is in this case, but what is a fact is that he is practically ruled out to open any of the first 2 games of the American League Championship Series at Minute Maid Park against the Sox." And so if he starts, he more than likely will start game 3. So I would think you would go Valdez 1. Would you go Urquidy 2, Eric? Or would you go Garcia 2?
I would, just because they haven't pitched him since October 3rd. But at the same time, I mean, there's some sense to having Luis Garcia pitch at home.
I was just going to ask you about Luis Garcia.
Yeah. So Luis Garcia pitches better at home. So, but just Urquidy hasn't
Personally,
pitched.
I would love to see Luis Garcia because what did he give up like 5 earned runs the last time he pitched? Like, yeah, give me some of that. Some batting practice, please.
But if he pitches at home, he's a lot better. So if
he is a lot better at home, his home splits are a lot better than on the road.
Yeah, and I think that if I remember correctly, Urquidy pitched well against the Red Sox earlier this year. So I think that would be a good matchup on the road. And then I think so he would probably pitch. Let's say that McCullers is okay. He pitches game 3. Then you'll have Urquidy on an extended rest on game 4. And then you just start the rotation over again. And then if McCullers for some reason can't go, then you would just piece together, either have Christian Javier maybe make a start because he did pitch 2 1/3 innings the last time. So he can probably give you 3 innings. And maybe if Jake Odorizzi makes a rotation, makes a roster, he can maybe go 3 to 4 innings and then just have like a piggyback day.
You may see the Astros pull not because of James Click, but they may have to pull somewhat of a Rays-esque type of pitching maneuvers where we've done piggyback starting before. And Dusty Baker, when he did it, was very successful. And with as much criticism as I have thrown at him, he actually masterfully worked that last game with Lance McCullers. And the relief pitchers in 3 of the 4 games actually looked really good. If our relief pitching holds up, I think, Gabrielle, our lineup 1 through 7, you got 7, you got either Kyle Tucker or the AL batting champ 7. I think this lineup is as deadly as it's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, honestly, but I have to say I kind of have this like peace of mind because all I really wanted was to beat the Yankees in the wild card game, to the point where for most of the ALDS, I was not even stressed. Like, they got shut out in game 1, and I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, the Rays won 100 games this season.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be a 4th place team, and we won 90 games, like 92 games. The Red Sox were projected to be a like 80 or 82 win team with a 4th place finish. And instead, they were in 1st place for 80 something days. And then they won the wild card game, and then they won the division series. So everything that they are currently doing is out kicking their coverage to the point where, like, I'm not, even if they lose the ALCS, it's like, to me, it's not a loss because they've already come so much further. I mean, they were in last place in 2020. They were one of the worst teams in their history of their franchise last year. Yes, it was a 60-game season, but the winning percentage was so low that it's like, yeah, it would suck if they lose to you guys, but it's not embarrassing because they're already outperforming so much based on their projections that they weren't supposed to be here in the first place. This was supposed to be Rays Astros. It's not supposed to be Red Sox, Astros. It's like, I'm honestly fine with it,
Yeah. So let's just go and take a look at the I guess the lineup, so to speak. I mean, not necessarily the order, but the hitters. Let's start with the catcher, Christian Vasquez and Martin Maldonado. We'll have to go to Vasquez there just because he's a good hitter, and I mean, his OPS is way better than Maldonado. Maldonado is a great defensive guy. You can't run on him because I think he threw out at least a couple runners in the ALDS. But Vasquez is pretty good offensively, right? How is he defensively?
Christian Vasquez?
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's had a few rough moments this season. I'll give you that. But on the whole, I mean, he's so fast. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the way that he can cut down runners, I don't know. He's very impressive. The offensive stuff has been great too. He's like very clutch. Every home run that he hits, like, he's never hit a cheap home run in his life. That walk-off home run was like, I mean, that was like Carlton Fisk levels of excellence. But as a catcher, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like a Jason Varitek, but he is extremely good at his job, partially because he's mentored by Jason Varitek.
Right.
Somebody said the only advantage the Sox have is in center field. I mean, we use like 7 different center fielders, so he could be really talking about anybody.
Well, we've gone through 4 or 5, so I guess so. But Kyle Schwarber, that was an interesting trade the Red Sox made because, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was hurt when the Red Sox traded for him. But now he's playing pretty good for the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Kyle Schwarber thing, I feel like it's very funny because the Red Sox were getting mocked a lot after the trade deadline because they it was pretty clear that they had wanted Anthony Rizzo. And then the Yankees literally got Anthony Rizzo just so the Red Sox would not get Anthony Rizzo. But look who's in the ALCS and look who's been home for over a week. So, clearly, like, every single one of the big trades, you can see my dog going crazy on the fresh laundry behind me. Every single one of the big splashes in the offseason at the trade deadline is now on vacation.
Right.
Craig Kimbrell.
No, that's true.
Gallo, Rizzo, like, it's, And who's in the postseason? Kyle Schwarber playing first base. Look, the guy loves getting on base. His on base percentage is ridiculous. He absolutely rakes. There's no doubt in my mind he is here for his bat, not for his first base skills, which he developed like two weeks ago. But he's a great team player, and we really love him. He's really endeared himself to the franchise and to the fan base already. He's a good fit. For one thing, he's like a bearded guy, so he fits right in aesthetically. But offensively, I mean, look, the guy had like 17 home runs in a month in June or something absurd. Like, the guy rakes, and that's one of the reasons that he's here. Especially with JD Martinez hurting his ankle in the last game of the season. You need the bat power. And he's not terrible at first base. I mean, there was that moment with Arozarena, but that wasn't his fault. I mean, if you look at the video, his back is to him and Arozarena is just plowing right into him. It's not like he's, standing there like this and then Arozarena and just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
No, yeah, definitely. I just think if Yuli can get hot, I think his bat, he hits for more average and hits more. He just does really good with runners in scoring position. I think first base can be kind of a push. I think defensively it's obviously Yuli, but I think offensively Kyle Schwarber is obviously hotter right now because Yuli, outside of his like last couple hits of the last game, he hadn't really been getting many hits. Right. Eric, when we move to the infield, second base, y'all have Arroyo, we have Altuve, y'all have Bogarts, we have Correa, and then we have Bregman, and over on third, y'all have Devers. Of those three position players for y'all, which one do you think has the edge on our big three?
Oh, God. I would say Devers.
I would agree with that.
This season, yeah. I would say this season for sure.
I have a Bregman story. So game 2 of the ALCS in 2018, I was at the first 2 games at Fenway. In game 2, I was sitting in some very choice seats that actually belong to Larry Lucchino. And so they are literally right to like the right side, if you're facing the field, to the right side of the visiting dugout. To like the second row back from the field, my elbow is on the railing of the dugout. So I'm like 2 inches away from Hinch and all the players. And Alex Bregman did not have a good game. And every time he would strike out, he would come down the dugout steps and he would wink at me. And I'm wearing a Red Sox sweatshirt, a Red Sox jacket. I have Red Sox nails. And I'm sitting with the president, the former CEO of the Red Sox. And I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish? It was like the weirdest thing. But anyway, Rafael Devers loves the postseason. In 2017, against your team, he became the youngest player in MLB history to hit an inside the park home run. I was there. He also was the youngest player in Red Sox history to homer in a postseason game. He was 20 years old. The running joke was that if they had made it to the World Series and won the World Series, he would not have legally been able to drink because his birthday is like the end of October.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He is like, he's so good. He's so good. The only thing I will say is that he gets in his head. He still gets in his head. Like 4 years into this, he still, you see him batting. If he's having a bad game, he will literally bash himself with his fist on the side of his batting helmet.
Right.
And it's like a little worrisome. He's going to like give himself a head injury or something. Xander Bogaerts is the one that really needs to step up offensively. He's been okay so far in the postseason. He's also had some really rough games. I'm pretty sure in the extra inning game, he did not have a single hit, but I might be mixing it up with a different game. But he's a guy where it's kind of like, as he goes, so does the rest of the lineup kind of thing. Like, the vibes are just better. I know it's such a hippie thing to say, but the vibes are better when Xander Bogaerts is doing well. There's just a different kind of energy in the lineup. especially if JD is not feeling well. Because if you see JD in division series highlights, he's visibly grimacing as he rounds the bases. Like, the poor guy could not stop hitting doubles, and he's like, oh crap, I gotta run to second base again. Like, he's running on one ankle. And it's you're like, dude, just hit a home run. So finally he hit a home run, but like every single time I think he had like 4 hits in that game, and at least 2 of them were doubles, and you're just like, dude, I get it. It's great, but we're up 14-6. Like, you can strike out and go sit down. It's okay. Like, preserve that ankle. We need you.
Right. With Carlos Correa,
people are like making fun of the Bregman thing. I am not flexing it. I just thought it was funny that this guy kept making eye contact with me when like I'm clearly not rooting for the team. Like, it's not like he's married now. I have a boyfriend. Like, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just funny to me that I kept making eye contact with this guy who was like not doing well in the game, and I was very happy about it, and he was not happy about it.
Yeah. So Carlos Correa has really stepped it up this year. I know that he's looking for that money this offseason. And so I know that he's a slight push over Bogarts. It's pretty close, though. And Altuve is definitely a upgrade over Arroyo, even though Arroyo had that big home run against the Astros earlier this year. So I still have nightmares about that game. So, but in the outfield, the Astros have Brantley. Then center field, it depends on Jake Meyers' health, because he ran into a wall and kind of hurt his shoulder. So it's either going to be Jake Meyers or Chas McCormick. And then you have Kyle Tucker, who's really stepped up this year. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw in Alvarez, Yordan Alvarez, who's probably a little bit behind JD Martinez at this point. But they're probably a little bit pretty comparable. But I know that JD's a little bit he's probably got more experience. And so who's in your outfield right now?
So we got Kike Hernandez. He's been playing infield and outfield, but Kike has been really good in the outfield. We got Hunter Renfroe, who actually had more outfield assists in right than Mookie Betts ever had in a season, which is pretty impressive. I mean, yeah, he makes some errors, but it's not easy to play right field at Fenway with the little corner by the pesky pole. We've got Verdugo in left a lot, which was kind of a shift because he played right field most of last year, I believe, before we got Renfroe. It's a pretty potent outfield, especially when you consider the fact that Hunter Renfroe is getting paid $3 million this year, and he had 31 regular season home runs. But he's really somebody who I wrote actually yesterday or the day before really is going to have to step up in the ALCS if they want to have a fighting chance. He's had some hits, not really getting the extra base hits. It's mostly been singles, and he's not doing very much offensively. The Red Sox have a serious problem stranding runners. They love it. They love stranding runners like I love them. It's pretty. They're getting pretty serious. I'm going to expect them to.
That's an
intense
to their own
left on base numbers at some point.
That's an intense love, and hey, I'm gonna totally endorse that kind of love. You just keep leaving runners on base, like that, because I know that you have a deep love for this team. So let's do this. This is a great conversation we're having. We love having you on. We've missed having you on. And of course, we're definitely not gonna ever forget about you. But we want to make predictions right now, and we want to make good, solid predictions. So we don't want you to use your Red Sox cap. We want you to use who you really think is going to win, because we know that would lean in the Houston direction. I'm joking. But Gabrielle, give us your prediction, and then Eric, give us your prediction, and then I'll give my prediction last. Gabrielle, honestly, what do you think is going to happen in this series?
I think it's like 4-1 Astros, maybe 4-2. I really I would love, but this is what I do. I mean, people are like, oh, she's not a real Red Sox fan. No, I'm a real Red Sox fan because I'm educated. I would love to say like, oh, the Red Sox can totally win this series, win the pennant. I just think that you guys are more well-equipped, but I'm okay with that because like I said, this wasn't supposed to be our year. This was supposed to be the bridge year to next year. Like, I think people were like, oh yeah, they'll be okay. They'll be better this year. But next year, 2022, they'll be like a real contending team. They're ahead of schedule, which is great. Does that mean that they're supposed to be here, like in terms of actual matchups? I think we might be reaching the end of the line. All I would like is to not get swept, just for like embarrassment, like hold your head up high sakes. But I just hope that they make it difficult for you guys. And maybe walk away with some cool moments. I will say one of the players that they're going to miss this weekend is Jackie Bradley Jr. Because you may recall, it wasn't Mookie or JD who was having a big series in the ALCS. It was Jackie
That's
Bradley
right.
Jr. He had 10 RBI, all on
Huge.
2 out extra base hits. And, he has that grand slam off of the wife beater. And, they don't get to the World Series in 2018 without Jackie Bradley Jr.'s bat. It was, that series was the series of David Price and Jackie Bradley Jr. and that Andrew Benintendi catch, because most of the rest of the team was actually trying pretty hard to give it to the Astros, offensively, defensively, Kimbrel, Sale. It was not great. I was most worried. I knew that the Red Sox could beat any NL team that year, because let's be real, everyone knows the NL was not very good in 2018 as a whole. Right. The Rays had a better record than every single NL team, which is insane. So I knew, I was like, if they can just get to the World Series, they can win the World Series. It was getting to the World Series that was the problem, because they had to go through the Yankees and the Astros. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be more like 4-2, because the Astros, like somebody said, they don't like sweeps. And I think that the Red Sox are probably going to win game 1 at home. So game 3. Even with Lance McCullers on the mound in that situation. But I just think that the Astros seem to struggle in that first game. At least versus the White Sox. It just the home team seem to have that momentum. So we'll see. But if McCullers is healthy and pitching well, then we'll see how that goes. But it all depends on how Luis Garcia does. Like you mentioned earlier, he gave up 5 runs. Is he going to throw batting practice in game 2? We had Jose Urquidy. He hasn't pitched since October 3rd. How is he going to do? So there's so many what ifs. Is Zach Greinke going to get a start? Is Jake Odorizzi going to get a start? There's so many different what ifs. But I think the Astros have the deep enough lineup to definitely win the series. It's not going to be a sweep, but I think 4-2. I think y'all get 2 wins.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to change my prediction, because I'm going to go with Gabby's intelligent pick. I'm going to say 4-1 Astros, because it does make sense. And, I do know that the Astros take this team very seriously. Like, they don't go, ALCS, they're not the Rays or the Red Sox, they weren't supposed to be here. Like, they take this business as usual. We've got to win this series. We can't talk about World Series. We can't think about the National League. So I think the Astros can take care of business. I think they can win it in 5. If it went to game 6, I wouldn't be surprised, because Boston is red hot. And when you get to Boston, it is a different atmosphere, and that is a tough crowd to play in. So I think we all see the Astros winning this, whether they do it in 5 games or 6 games. I don't see a sweep, but the Astros have been allergic to that anyways all season. So let's not get too greedy. But Gabrielle, thank you so much. Tell us once again where the people can find you so they can check out your stuff online.
Thank you guys so much for having me. You guys can read my stuff on Fansided's Bo Sox Injection and That Ball's Out of Here, 2 of our amazing websites, and girlatthegame.com. I'm on Twitter at GFSTARR1. But I don't interact with trolls. So if you're in the comments being an asshole, this is the last you see of me.
All righty, guys. So, Gabrielle, thank you once again for joining the show, and you're always welcome back. And maybe after the series, we can come back and recap. But other than that, guys, hopefully the Astros have a good series, and we're going to have Lauren of the Locked On Red Sox podcast to join the show tomorrow. And thank you once again for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. And we'll be back tomorrow with another show.